In this video, you'll learn how to master the art of conversation with women, not with pickup lines or fake confidence, but through real, proven psychology. Because most men try too hard to impress, and end up creating distance instead of connection. The truth is, great conversations aren't about what you say, they're about what you make her feel. When you understand how to connect emotionally, how to listen with presence, and how to create effortless flow, every interaction becomes natural. You don't chase her attention, you attract it. So if you've ever struggled with awkward pauses or not knowing what to say, stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to talk to women in a way that feels confident, smooth, and authentic. Let's begin. The first thing you have to understand is this: most men talk to impress, the best men talk to connect. When you approach a conversation with the goal of being impressive, you're already putting pressure on yourself. You're performing. You're trying to earn approval. And women can feel that energy, instantly. It's the difference between "look at me" and "let's share a moment." When you shift your focus from performance to curiosity, everything changes. Curiosity is magnetic. It tells her you're not trying to win, you're trying to understand. And understanding is the most underrated form of attraction there is. Psychologists call this active curiosity, the ability to stay mentally present, to actually want to discover who the other person is beneath the surface. It's not about asking too many questions, it's about asking the right kind. When she says, "I love reading," don't just say, "Oh, that's cool. What kind of books?" That's surface level. Instead, say, "I love that. What is it about reading that pulls you in?" That kind of question makes her stop and think. It makes her reflect. It shows depth. And in that moment, she realizes, you're not like the rest. You're curious. You're present. And that's what creates emotional chemistry. If you're enjoying this so far, hit that like button, because the next part might just change the way you talk forever. Here's something you've never been told: most conversations die not because you run out of words, but because you run out of energy alignment. Humans subconsciously mirror the emotional tone of whoever they're speaking to. If she's calm and grounded, and you're bouncing off the walls trying to keep things exciting, she feels exhausted. If she's playful and high energy, and you're too serious, she feels bored. So what do? You learn to mirror her energy, not her words. This is called emotional calibration. You pay attention not just to what she's saying, but how she's saying it. Is she speaking softly? Match that softness. Is she laughing fast and telling funny stories? Match that playfulness. You don't copy her, you tune in. It's the same skill therapists use to build instant trust with patients. And the same skill great leaders use to make everyone feel comfortable around them. When you match someone's energy, their brain releases oxytocin, the bonding chemical. That's why sometimes you meet a person and instantly feel like you've known them for years. It's not magic, it's emotional synchronization. You don't have to be perfect at it. Just aware. That awareness alone puts you ahead of 90% of men. Now let's talk about how to actually keep a conversation flowing naturally, without awkward silences or one-word replies. The secret lies in something called the thread technique. It's simple, but powerful. Every sentence she says has tiny threads, little details you can pull to keep the conversation alive. If she says, "I went to Abuja for work last week," there are multiple threads hidden inside that one sentence. Abuja, location. Work, reason. Last week, time frame. You could ask, "What kind of work took you there?" or "How did you like Abuja?" Each thread leads somewhere new. When you train your brain to hear those threads, conversations never dry out. Because there's always something to follow. But here's where it gets deeper: not every thread is worth pulling. Some are informational, they lead to facts. Others are emotional, they lead to stories, feelings, and connection. When she says, "It was exhausting," but I'm glad I went. That's emotion. That's your golden thread. Follow that. Ask, what made it exhausting, or what made it worth it in the end? Now she's telling you how she feels. That's where the real connection starts. You know what else most men get wrong? They think silence is bad. They panic when there's a pause, like it's the end of the conversation. But here's the thing, silence is not your enemy. It's your ally. Moments of silence are where emotional tension builds. They create space for reflection, comfort, and even attraction. If you can hold a calm, confident silence, it tells her you're not desperate to fill the void. You're comfortable in your own skin. And that's powerful. So next time you feel the silence creeping in, don't rush to speak. Smile. Breathe. Hold it. Let it breathe with you. It's not awkward unless you make it awkward. Now, let's move into the most overlooked secret of all, validation. Most men hear that word and think it means complimenting her. But validation isn't about saying, "You're pretty." It's about making her feel understood. When she talks about something that matters to her, her job, her stress, her goals, listen for emotion. If she says, "My job's been overwhelming lately," don't respond with advice. That's what most men do. They say, "Maybe you should take a break," or "You should try meditation." No. What she needs in that moment isn't a solution, it's understanding. So instead, say, "That actually sounds tough. Has it been like that for a while?" That's called microvalidation. It's small, but it changes everything. It tells her, you don't have to impress me. You can just be you. That's how you build trust, one emotionally safe moment at a time. Let's talk about storytelling. Because the way you tell your stories determines how engaging you are. People love stories, but what they love even more is contrast. A story without contrast is just a list of events. I went there, it was fun, and then I came back. No tension, no emotion. But add contrast, and you have magic. The first day was a disaster. I missed my flight, got drenched in the rain, but that trip ended up being one of the best experiences of my life. Now there's light and shadow, and our brains crave that. When you tell stories with contrast, people remember you as charismatic. Because emotion is what sticks. She doesn't remember your facts, she remembers how she felt listening to you. You don't need to exaggerate or brag. Just be human. Talk about the little challenges, the funny mistakes, the real moments. That's what creates warmth. Now here's a subtle but powerful move most people never use, the open loop. An open loop is when you start a thought but don't fully finish it, you leave a small hint, a trail of curiosity. It makes people want to reconnect later. For example, if you're about to leave a conversation, you can say, "You actually just reminded me of something hilarious that happened to me once. I'll tell you next time." You've just opened a loop, and her brain hates unfinished stories. She'll naturally want to close it. That's what keeps her thinking about you after you leave. It's a small psychological trick, but it's pure genius when used authentically. But let's step back for a moment. What makes someone truly unforgettable in conversation isn't clever tricks or techniques. It's something deeper, presence. Presence means you're not distracted. You're not thinking about what to say next. You're here. Now. And she feels that. When you're present, your eyes soften. Your tone slows down. You stop trying to convince her of your worth, because you already know it. And that's what creates emotional gravity. Think about it, the most attractive people you've met, they don't rush. They don't overtalk. They listen with quiet confidence. Because they're comfortable in the silence. Comfortable in themselves. That's what true mastery looks like. Another key to mastering conversation is understanding emotional pacing. Every woman has her own emotional rhythm, the pace at which she opens up, jokes, reflects, and connects. If you rush that rhythm, she shuts down. If you move too slow, she gets bored. So the art lies in calibration. You sense her pace, and you move with it, like a dance. You don't lead too hard, you don't follow too slow. You adapt. That's emotional intelligence, not intellect, but intuition. It's what separates a good conversationalist from an unforgettable one. Now, let's destroy a myth that ruins more conversations than anything else. The myth that you have to be interesting. No. You don't have to be interesting. You just have to be interested. Most people listen to reply. Few people listen to understand. When you listen deeply, when you give someone your undivided attention, they start to open up in ways they never do with others. Because being heard is one of the most powerful human needs. So if you want to stand out, stop chasing perfect words. Chase understanding. Ask questions that make her think. Listen without interrupting. And respond to feelings, not just facts. That's the foundation of emotional connection. And while we're on the subject, stop fearing vulnerability. A confident man who can admit weakness is unstoppable. When you're not afraid to say, "Yeah, I've been through that," or "I used to struggle with that too," it makes you real. And authenticity is magnetic. You don't have to reveal your deepest secrets, but share something human. Something genuine. When you do, you invite her to do the same. That's how trust and attraction are built, not through perfection, but through realness. Finally, let's talk about leaving an impression that lasts. The most unforgettable conversations don't end with a clever line, they end with an emotion. When she walks away smiling, replaying the moment in her head, that's impact. And you create that impact by being emotionally aware, not verbally flashy. End the conversation with warmth. With calm confidence. Say something like, "This was actually fun talking to you." Simple. Genuine. Unforced. That's what real men do. So here's the truth. Mastering the art of conversation with women isn't about changing who you are, it's about unlocking what's already there. Your curiosity. Your empathy. Your emotional intelligence. When you stop seeing conversations as tests to pass, and start seeing them as moments to experience, you become effortlessly magnetic. Every woman can feel it, when you're grounded, when you're not seeking validation, when you're just present. That's real confidence. So take a deep breath. Let go of trying to impress. And start connecting, with your eyes, your energy, and your attention. Because when you do that, you don't just become better at talking to women. You become better at being a man. If this video resonated with you, hit that like button, it helps the message reach more people. Subscribe if you want more content that builds your confidence from the inside out. And tell me in the comments, which part hit you the hardest? Remember, the goal isn't to talk more. It's to connect deeper. And when you master that, you master everything.